right, welcome back to Two Stupid Guys Trade Stocks. I'm Vinny.
I'm Dylan. Today we have something a little bit different. This is actually on the housing market because I'm very frustrated and I got triggered. And it happens to the best of us, but I can't be quiet. So this video is going to be about a popular argument and tweet that's going around that houses are impossible to buy for millennials and that it's not our fault and that everything's out to get us and we didn't do anything wrong. And I disagree with all that very strongly. Go ahead, Vinny.
No, I definitely have my questions. Sometimes I ask myself, are the next 30 years going to be as good as the last 30 years? Because certainly some folks really benefited from one of the greatest economic times in period, and became 401k millionaires without even really having to think about it, which is kind of cool. But if you guys enjoy this kind of entertaining stock market content of two stupid guys trading stocks and talking about personal finance and economics, that sort of stuff, by all means, give us a like and subscribe below. We'd love to have you guys along this adventure. With that, we'll get to it.
Two stupid guys trade stocks.
All right.
Well, this is an offensive tweet.
I'm so angry. I'm trying to keep it together. Okay, so it's going around like Snapchat and Instagram and Facebook and TikTok and I don't know. There's 9 more things I don't know what they are. So my parents bought their house in 1992 for $200,000. It's now worth $1.2 million. I make more money than they did back then. I can't buy a house, but rent is more than their mortgage was. And then all the comments are not what I was thinking. I saw this. I'm like, oh, people are gonna rip this to shreds. They're all like, no, our life's way too hard. It's not fair. Our parents had it really easy, and all that stuff. And I was just in utter shock that there wasn't even one comment being like, I don't know, work harder. I don't.
Yeah, okay. There's no boomer grandma in there just saying you gotta really strip down and save.
No, because I think the way I got it was on TikTok, and I don't think they know how to work it.
No, probably not. This is actually a local news story to me from this week. Actually, it was about this house that literally looks like this, and they were still asking $400,000 for it. So, I mean, headlines like this make you kind of wonder about that whether those millennials were right, Dylan?
Yeah, what they can't see is the other side of the streets on Harvard's lawn or something, and that's why it's $400K.
I mean, this is in Massachusetts, so everything here is a little expensive. Taxachusetts, as I like to call it, but it's very true.
Taxachusetts. I'm so glad you said that.
Yeah.
All right. So obviously I'm a little bit biased here because I think that this claim is utterly outrageous and millennials are stupid for saying it. So because of that, I don't like when people handpick data to prove their point. My point is I will agree it's a little bit harder, a little bit. You can make that argument. That's sound, but saying that it's impossible and our parents have to get, that's a stupid thing to say. So this is from 3 different sources: Rocket Mortgage, Value Penguin, and Fred Economic Data. That's an amazing site, by the way. They all agree, so I'm not making this up. The left is the year 80s and the right is the 90s. Look at those average percentages, man.
Yeah, it's scary to think that in the 1980s, you were taking out mortgages close to I think I have one credit card that has a 14.49% interest rate or 12.99. I think is actually my lowest one. 12.99% interest on a credit card, and these guys were getting mortgages for 16%.
Yeah, and there was by month actually went as high as 19.
Wow.
There's a 1 October where if you bought a house in October, you had a 19% interest rate.
Jeez, it's absolute insanity.
Yeah, it's pretty wild. 90s not as bad, still really high to me.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah,
this is used car kind of rates to me.
That's exactly. I chose these 2 decades because I'm trying to go with the millennial timeline when our parents in a 20-year age would have bought a house. If it was 70s, for anyone watching, 70s was not as bad as the 80s, not as bad as the 80s and better than the 90s. Wait, no. In between the 80s and 90s.
Yeah, something like that. Well, the millennials officially begin in 1980, I believe. So,
yeah, I'm sorry. Worse than the 90s, not as bad as the 80s. Nailed it. We're good.
There you go.
So, the average interest rate was 1980 12.7, 1990 8.12, and today 2.92.
Getting 30 years of financing for less than 3% is absolute insanity in terms of interest rate to me. I think of it from the standpoint of a lender. Like, would I be willing to make a loan for like 3% interest rate? Like, no.
Yeah, it's crazy.
Yeah,
And
no.
if anyone's wanting the other parameters for this, they're all the same. So it's using same credit score, same everything else. So if you're being like, well, I couldn't get 292, I got 4. Well, that means that 12 is really a 15. So
Yeah.
it goes both ways, right? Because this is going to be really hard to justify because there's a million variables for housing.
Yeah, understood.
All right, what do you see here, Vinny?
Yeah. So, what's interesting to me about this is that like household income, when you adjust it for inflation, is relatively flat over the last couple decades, which is unfortunate because productivity has been up significantly over that time period, right? We're all leveraging skills and using like kind of information technology platforms such as YouTube, maybe to leverage our time and generate more value from a certain fixed amount of input. But it's unfortunate that wages have kind of been flat since then in terms of real inflation adjusted values.
Right. And it's important to realize, one, this graph only goes to 2000. I think it drops to 30 in the 70s.
Mm-hmm.
And then two, remember, houses appreciate 4% every year on average. It probably never did exactly 4%, but on average, just like the S&P is 9%,
Yeah,
houses increase 4%.
yeah, that's about the average. All right.
So this is a lot of numbers. So I'm going to make this really easy to read because this is what people are doing online. This column is how much we were making as an average medium historical medium income in a household. Okay. So boom, all the way down to the 70s, you get to a much lower number. What people are doing to justify their point is they're jumping to this column, which is adjusted for inflation, and then saying my parents adjusted for inflation made 48, 50 grand a year, and then bought a $175,000 house or $150,000 house at that time, which is equivalent to now. When in reality, no, they were making this much a year and bought a $175,000 house. Do you see how misleading this is, Vinny?
Yeah. Adjusting one for inflation and not the other is kind of disingenuous. I get what your point is there.
You can't adjust one side of an equation for inflation and then leave the other side alone. That does not make any sense. When you adjust it for inflation, they were making about 50 grand. We have moved up very slowly to 60 grand. Okay?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, understood.
Got it. And this is the average sale prices of houses sold. I'm going to use this data to prove my point here. All right. So buying a house in the 1980s with an average sold house at 125, which is what that last graph showed, at 12.7% interest is going to cost you 438-ish grand and a mortgage payment of 1218.
Okay.
Okay. Not terrible. House in the 90s, same parameters, 1168. Is a little bit cheaper.
Okay.
If you do it now, 1532.
Okay, that hurts. Definitely a little increase there.
Yeah.
Talking about 25% or so.
Yeah, it's $200 a month.
Yeah.
Stop buying avocado toast for 1 month.
I count that as like
have your
300, but and on a base of 12, that's like
$300 a month.
Yeah.
People are paying $200 for a stupid, ridiculous gym.
Yeah.
Just stop doing that. You can buy a house.
My wife gets a mani-pedi. That's like $120.
There you go.
Yeah.
And the part that was really, really frustrating is people are adjusting the one side of that equation for inflation, saying their parents are making 50 based on economic data, and then buying a $125,000 house. No, that is not how equations work.
Yeah. I completely understood.
All right, go to the next one.
This is a 20% down slide.
Oh, this is a 20% down. Same thing, 20% down. This is your payments per month: 1,083 for the 80s, 1,039 for the 90s, and 1,362 for 2021.
Okay.
Is it a little bit harder?
A little bit.
You can make that argument.
Yeah.
Is it impossible? No. Not even close.
All you need to do is like start a YouTube channel and get like 5,000 subscribers. You can earn $300 a month.
Yeah. Or my argument is just stop buying avocado toast, you weirdos. You're paying $9 for a piece of toast with guac on it.
Yeah.
What are you doing?
I don't know. It's not my thing.
So the only logical argument is that the upfront cost is significantly higher. You are correct. The
Mhm.
cost of our money has never been lower and will likely not be lower for the foreseeable future. I
Yeah.
agree with you. If that's your takeaway. Solid point.
True.
Go to the next one.
Yeah. The one thing that this kind of I want to see if you bring it up. If not, I'll bring it up.
Got it. When you enter in inflation, the household income has not increased that much. This is true. This comes down to budgeting, which is probably the worst trait of our entire generation. Graham Stephan, who's a popular YouTube guy, does videos on people's budgets that are, making 45, 50 grand a year, and they are spending 50 to 60 grand a year. And then you're like, well, they need it. And you look at what they're doing. No, they don't. Starbucks, $5 a day. You have all these ridiculous costs. People are saying you need to travel a bunch. Okay, travel a bunch. Don't complain about not being able to buy a house, though. You're spending your down payment on traveling. It's not like it's going somewhere else.
Yeah.
Very
Or a big
frustrating.
elaborate wedding.
Or elaborate wedding. And the thing that is not really factored into this at all is that in the 70s and 80s, the household income was usually just one person.
Uh-huh.
Now it's very typical for it to be two people.
Yeah, exactly.
Was that what you were waiting for me to say?
No. The point I really wanted to bring up actually though is a little bit about the student loan debt. Yeah.
Okay, that's a good one.
I personally took a mortgage out and put it in my brain, and it's unfortunate because like I enjoy what I do, but I can't actually put like nice like carpeting and like tile the shower in my own head. It doesn't work out that well.
That is true. Solid point. Don't even get me started on taking out 100 grand in student loans when you could have went to a community college like I did, and doesn't make any sense to me. That's a whole different situation. Also a problem with millennials.
Yeah.
You took 80 grand out for a degree that you literally don't use at all.
No.
That happens to not everyone. Obviously, that's a very generalization, but I hate it.
Yeah, you got to think about it. It's a business decision, and I don't think people think about it as a business decision.
No, they do not. The houses I can afford suck. Who cares? That you're paying $2 grand a month in rent. You can pay $2 grand for a crappy house, and you're no longer burning money. You're putting it towards something in equity you can use in the future. Just put this in perspective. The first house I bought, I'm pretty sure they filmed Saw there. Like, it looked like a murder scene. There was a whole shed of just dead pigeons. I don't know why. A whole shed of just like 150 dead pigeons.
Disturbing. Very disturbing.
Nothing a trash bag and a gross amount of bleach couldn't solve.
Wow.
So,
yeah.
I don't
know if you subscribe to this notion, but have you ever heard like you should buy the worst house in like the nicest neighborhood you can afford?
That makes sense.
Yeah, right.
Fix it up and appreciates faster.
Yeah, they say location. Three most important things in real estate, right? So if you buy like the worst house in the nicest neighborhood you can afford, ultimately that home, as you move it towards like the median in terms of the neighborhood, in terms of quality, you'll now have a significant kind of gap up in terms of the value of the home.
Yeah, go for it. Makes sense.
Yeah. You don't want to own a palace in like the middle of like a horrible neighborhood.
Probably not.
No.
And this is my biggest pet peeve is I watched this shared, and I won't obviously name any names, but I watched this shared by like 6 different people, and all of them were posting on Instagram a vacation within the last 4 months.
Nice.
One of them was like a week and a half ago, like Cabo. I'm like, oh, I can't afford a house. It's unfair. This is ridiculous. It's too expensive. You just spent $2 grand in Cabo.
I mean, this looks beautiful,
You can't do that and then complain. I ate like corn and ground turkey for like 3 years. Like I don't like it's. Come on.
I love it. The corn and ground turkey diet. That's like have you ever seen Dave Ramsey videos?
Yes.
Okay, you know what he recommends people to eat while they get their budget under control and like cut down on debt?
Is that it?
No, rice and beans.
Rice and beans?
Yeah, rice and beans and rice. He said those are your 2 choices for dinner.
I do rice, corn, and turkey. It's disgusting, but it works.
It's funny. You were on the Dave Ramsey diet, didn't even know it.
I didn't. I'm not anymore. Luckily. But
yeah, hey, that's what it does. You know his like kind of ground statement there about live like no one else, so later on you can live like no one else.
Oh, I mean that's kind of pretty.
Yeah, that's what as he's saying is like, you chose to sacrifice these trips to Cabo and going out to like, these places with the avocado toast and like $12 martinis so you could like scrimp and save and like buy a home so that way you build yourself a solid foundation early on in life. And when you're in your mid 50s, like are you going to be like sweating like retirement, or are you going to be one of those people that wakes up at 55 and goes, "Holy crap, I have no savings and no plan"?
Yeah, no, I will not be one of those. I think I spent, which we'll do at the end of the year, probably 20% of my income this year.
Jesus Christ.
Because you know it's free, just hanging out with buddies.
Yeah, sure.
Yeah. Oh, I'm getting a call. Okay.
All right, guys. We'll catch you on the next one.
All right, later, guys.